Welcome to the Run Out. I am Neil Barrett. He is Brandon Hooten. We finally have some actual lacrosse to talk about this week. Week one of the NLL was this past weekend, and we had 4 games that we will get into in just a minute. But before we do that, Brandon, how we doing, man?
Doing well as always.
As always.
We talked about cards for like an hour. Not really, but a long time before this.
A while.
And I'm looking at picking up some more. If anyone's selling some Jake Pacinos, let me know, because I'm buying them all.
We both opened cards in the last week. What was your favorite card that you unboxed?
That I actually pulled from a pack?
Yeah, let's go with the pulled cards,
okay.
not ones you bought.
I think the Pat Cav auto from the first box was my favorite. It's a base auto, but like I remember the first set that he was in, like his autos were going for crazy amounts, and so I didn't buy one because I was like, I don't want to spend that money on it. So then to pull it while he's already in an Outlaws jersey, I was like, this. It all worked out. And then in the same box, I pulled a McNaney relic, like an all Outlaws box. And the next box was an all Archers box, same kind of deal. So I was like, this is kind of funny. But yeah, I would go the Pat Cav auto.
I dig it. I'm a little torn between this here Tom Schreiber out of 25 and my guy Asher Nolting's just base auto. Nothing too crazy, but
he is a nice auto though.
He does have a nice auto. I like that he throws his number on it. And then just kind of been I think the thing that I love about like collecting cards is like the cards that mean something to me. And so like to have an Asher Nolting card, a guy that I used to, be part of the broadcast team for High Point games when it was him and Tim Troutner and a lot of these guys that, people will know, like, I don't know, there's just something cool about it. When I was in Boston last year, my wife and I stopped him and talked to him about High Point and everything and stuff. So it's just kind of cool to, see, ironically, a hometown guy for you, but
I was going to say he's a Colorado guy.
Also sort of a hometown guy for me because I grew up about 10 minutes from High Point University.
Yeah.
So
also on the protected roster of the Mammoth somehow.
Yeah. That is a weird thing, and I wish we knew what was going on with that. I think he would be such a good box player. Like I just think he would be.
So do I. I saw someone recently though in a Discord chat say that they don't think he can even back down guys in the field game well enough to be a good box player. And I was like, whoa. I didn't argue. I was just like, that's kind of wild there. But
based on what?
I don't know. I didn't push. That's just what they said willingly, and I was like, oh, I don't agree with that.
He's been an Attackman of the Year finalist, MVP finalist, every year he's been in the league? Like, what are
wild takes on the lacrosse scene, dude. I don't know. Meanwhile, I'm over here like, please let Asher play. Just one time, I just want to see him play.
It's like me with Michael Sowers. I'm like, just play. Just play. I don't care.
One time. Just one time.
I want it to be more than once, but like, do it.
Yeah, but if he plays and he sucks, then it's like, okay, at least we tried it. You know?
Right.
But
I do know, because another thing that I did, I worked on the broadcast, but I also was a coaching major, and one of my assignments for school when I went back to school after the Air Force was that we had to go like shadow a coach for like 24 hours. And I went to High Point and shadowed, and I do know that they do a lot of like box training, or at least they did when Coach Torpy was there and Asher was there and stuff. They do a lot of box, and
is it just preseason, or is it like during the season too?
No, it's mostly during preseason,
like
and
fall
then,
ball.
Yes, yeah, it's like a big part. Again, at least it was when Coach Torpy was there. It was like a big part of their fall ball, and then during the season, they played kind of box rules, but they played it on like a tennis court. So kind of like a PLL Street, but a little more box oriented than like, you know, tennis balls and no equipment and everything. I do think they played with a tennis ball, but it was a little bit more box oriented, kind of carrying those skills over, but doing it in a slightly less physical way since you're in season and stuff. No, you don't want to injure anybody, but yeah, and I think I remember hearing that he had played some box. I mean, it would have been Colorado box, you know, nearly a decade ago, so I'm sure it wasn't, you know, it wasn't like he was playing OJLL or anything. He wasn't playing like Canadian juniors or anything, but I do think he has some box experience even prior to that. So I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him playing. But anyway, let's move on to the actual NLL games and people that played. We'll start where the league started on Friday night. The Battle of Ontario, I guess is what we're calling this new rivalry. The Oshawa FireWolves pulled off the 1 goal victory, 8-7 over the Toronto Rock. I streamed this game. It was a lot of fun for anyone listening. We're going to do another one in a couple weeks, but definitely join the Lax Livers Club and check that out. It really was a lot of fun. And anyway, back to the game. I got a little lost in my thoughts there. I guess we'll just start with what you thought.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good opening game. It was a close one, which I appreciate. I love the fact that Alex Simmons called out Jamie Dalwick after the game in the presser. That was hilarious to watch.
Well, and was it Challen Rogers that called them out before the game, talking about how they had only been in their building for 3 minutes or something like that?
I didn't see that, but if that happened, that's even cooler.
Yeah. I think it was somebody did. I think it was Challen Rogers made a comment about how they'd only been in their building for 3 minutes. And then Alex Simmons had the comment after. Well,
that's hilarious.
A brand new rivalry that's already starting to get spicy. So
yeah,
that's fun.
And we haven't even got Ottawa mixed in yet either.
Yeah.
But either way, I thought both defenses were pretty good. Both goalies, obviously. I mean, Doug Jamieson with 47 saves was getting peppered, and he stood on his head, which is you know, just insane. CJ Kurse having 4 points, like, not saying I thought he was going to struggle, but I definitely didn't think he was going to have anywhere near 4. Nope. I kind of thought it was just going to be like a settling in game. But like they seemed to work pretty well together. I thought, you know, Hilty obviously scored again, which I think that makes it to where he still has scored in every single game since stepping on campus at Syracuse, I believe I saw, which is just crazy to think about. Good to see Mark Matthews back with a couple of apples there. And far less, you know, penalties than some other games. So that was, after watching the rest of the weekend, I was like, I'm very glad that game just went kind of quickly and was a good one.
Yeah. So first of all, speaking of that, it's not the first NLL game I've ever watched, but there was something about that game where I was like, we're already at halftime? Oh, we're already at the end of the third quarter. Like it just seemed to fly by. And I realized that score says 8-7, and that sounds like it was boring. This was not a boring game. The first quarter was a little slow, like it started a little slow, and it was only a 1-1 first quarter. But it didn't feel that way. Like I said, it was flying, pace was up and down. Toronto had 55 shots on goal. Like this was not a game that the final score is reflective of the game that was played. It was interesting, like you said, to see CJ Kurse with the 4 points. You and I both kind of thought he would kind of ease into it, but we did leave a caveat that said, like, you know, he could just jump out, like the lights turn on and suddenly he's the CJ Kurse we expected, and that's kind of what happened.
I mean, first goal of the NLL season.
He did, yeah. And the other one that really, really stood out in this game that we haven't talked about is Sam English. I thought all three rookies looked good. If you had to rank them, I guess me personally, I would have Sam English, then CJ, then Owen Hiltz. Not to say that Owen Hiltz was bad at all. He was a little bit quiet, although I think a lot of that, like you said, was Doug Jamieson just standing on his head.
Not the
in a lot of ways,
goalie to go against in your first box.
Right. In a lot of ways, I felt myself being kind of mad. Like, dude, chill out. Like, let some of these go in. What are we doing?
Well, the one that he had where he had like the double save where he saved it and then saved again with his hand, I was like, how do you even have the wherewithal to be like, oh, I need to move my hand like on a dunk attempt? That's why I said, I don't remember if it was last week or the week before that, like, I think he's kind of underrated. Like,
yeah, clearly.
Don't get me wrong, like, he gets his flowers a lot of times, but then you see stuff like this and you're just like, he had how many saves? Like, what?
Yeah.
You know, and like, without that, they probably don't pull off the win. Like,
yeah.
Because, I mean, Nick Rose, credit to him too, but he only had 33 saves. So we're talking 14 extra shots at least that Dougie had to take. So,
yeah. No, so, yeah, you're right. It was 13. Toronto had 54 and Oshawa had 41. So, yeah, it felt sort of tilted, not like majorly tilted towards Toronto's end, but they just couldn't beat Doug Jamieson at all. Meanwhile, Alex Simmons, I felt like every time he shot, it was past Nick Rose. Although the real backbreaker, I think, was that Ethan Walker, not the game winner, but the first one Ethan Walker scored where he's like up by like, is it the restraining line in box?
Yeah.
Okay. He's up by the restraining line and there's like 2 seconds left and he just kind of like throws it at the goal. There's no obstruction. There's no nothing. Nick Rose just kind of like whiffed on it. I don't, it was the most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And you think about it, that if that doesn't go in, it's a 7-7 game and it goes into overtime and who knows what happens in overtime. Like, and I don't want to say like, you could say that about 100 plays a game. Oh, if that doesn't happen, the whole game could change. But it was just such a like clear, oh, if this doesn't, this is a save that Nick Rose normally should make. And if he does, it could be a totally different result. But a good game, fun game. That building was packed. People were all there for it. I said this on the stream. I'm a little bit worried that a good portion of that crowd was Toronto Rock fans. And I'm a little bit worried that the next home game, when it's not a team that's, 90 kilometers away, it's like 40 miles or something like that, and their fan base can't get there as easily, what that looks like. What does Oshawa look like when they have to carry that crowd on their own? That being said, Oshawa fans were loud and proud, and I just wonder what the numbers are going to look like because it was packed, but a good portion of it was Toronto. So,
but also like you got to remember, like those Rock fans they can logistically make that work to where I'm sure there would have been potentially more fans that were just like, oh, it's sold out, like So even if there is a drop off, I don't think it'll be anything crazy because they still had, I think it was like 5,400 there or something like that, which that's more than they had in Albany. So I'm not complaining, but I hope that, like you're saying, as they move forward, especially with the win like that it kind of ushers in, and especially with like the dudes talking trash to each other in the media, like please let that happen more often so more fans get invested. Because if that happens, like that's going to be incredible for their attendance. Yeah.
No, and I agree. I think the win will help. I think continuing to win will help. I also really like seeing some stars come out. Not that Alex Simmons was not already a star, but like I think the more that you get those kind of performances, the more that you have those like must-see players. Dyson Williams is from Oshawa. Like, that will be a big thing that they can promote and hang their hat on and stuff. And as long as they can continue to win, and I don't necessarily mean going undefeated, but winning more games than they're losing, I think it will hopefully work out for them. I just thought about it, and I was seeing just how many Rock fans there were. And I agree with you that those guys leave and that leaves space for some other Oshawa fans. There's also probably some fans that are Toronto Rock fans because they have been in existence for 20 or 30 years that maybe live on the Oshawa side of Toronto and will go to Oshawa games as an Oshawa fan when they're not playing the Rock. So there's lots of different permutations. It was just something that came across my mind, and it's like, oh, I hope it still carries out, but it should, hopefully. Anyway, yeah, okay. Let's move on. We'll move on. I was trying to see if there's anything deeper to pull out of a week one game, and obviously there isn't anything too deep. I just wondered. I don't know. Are you at all disappointed by Toronto from this game?
Nope. It's week 1 goal loss.
Yeah,
doesn't mean a thing to me.
I think in the moment I was like, but you know, I don't know that many people were super high on Oshawa, although
I picked Oshawa to win, so I was happy.
Right. No, I understand that people probably a lot of people thought that maybe Oshawa would actually win, but they're not exactly picking Oshawa to, you know, certainly not make a cup run or anything.
I mean, they made the finals 2 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
And now you got year 3 Ty Kurtz, I believe, year 3 Alex Simmons. You still got Dougie in the D. Like, I think they could be really good. It's just that, like we talked about a couple weeks ago, the rest of the league is also getting really good. So that's where, like, even Toronto, like, yeah, it's a loss on paper, but like, you got to feel good that, like, it was a 1-goal loss. It was low scoring to where both your defenses played phenomenally. It wasn't like your offense was just chucking shots and airmailing them and that type of thing, you know? So from that perspective, like, I'm not worried about Toronto either, unless they can't figure out how to win the 1-goal games. To where if that becomes a pattern, then it's like, okay, like, at some point you gotta break that curse. But it's week 1, so I'm good with how they played.
And I would also tend to think that guys like CJ Kirst, like Owen Hiltz, you know, obviously Mark Matthews and a lot of those guys, as the season progresses, they will get to a point where they can start to figure out a goalie like a Doug Jamieson who's having a good night, hopefully. I mean,
well, and like, you got to remember too, there was a goal wiped off from a CJ Kirst penalty.
True.
So like, and it was a bonehead play by him. He knows that. Everyone else saw that. Like, if he doesn't do that, they potentially are coming away with a 1-goal victory on the other side of that. So that's where it's kind of like, he's a rookie. He made a dumb mistake. Like, it'll come. It'll get there.
It was such a good play too. Like, he did everything right. Just that extra foot, you know.
Yeah.
It has been well documented that I have no issue with CJ Kirst. I'm just not like a big CJ Kirst fan. And I did feel like I walked away from the game on Friday being like, oh, I feel like I get him a little bit more. There's something about maybe seeing him in box where I was like, oh, okay. Like, I get him a little bit better. He made a couple of moves where I was like, oh, didn't realize that was in your bag there, CJ, but
yeah. Well, he was split dodging in preseason, so
yeah, which is not something you tend to see.
No.
So anyway, let's move on to the second game of the weekend, where the San Diego Seals beat the Ottawa Black Bears 16-13. There's several stories out of here. One that I will mention, just the field guy here. Trevor Baptiste went 28 for 33 at the faceoff, which really just kind of like set the tone, I think, in terms of like getting his team possession and extra opportunities, because Ottawa dropped 13, and it wasn't. You and I talked last week or the week before, I can't remember, about how often it felt like this team might end up with Jeff Teat scoring 11 points and them still losing a game. This was not that game at all.
Well, it was if your name was Rob Hellier, but I mean, he put the team on his back, and it still wasn't enough.
Well, and Riley O'Connor had 6 points too, but where's Jeff T? 5 points, and that's pretty good too.
Still, that's still good.
That's still pretty good. But yeah, it does seem like they got a decent amount of production out of those three guys, and then not a ton else. But that being said, Ottawa put up 13 against a team that's we have talked several times wants to be in the championship this year. Like, that is their aspiration. That's the level they're at. They're not looking to make the playoffs. They're not looking to, rebuild, or they are looking to win a championship. So putting 13 points up against them, they didn't roll over.
Yeah, but it was too late. They got to get going sooner. First off, you get blown out in the first quarter 3-0. That can't happen. And then you give up. At least you matched in the second with 4 each. And then you did third quarter as well, and actually fourth. That's funny. That just goes to show that that first quarter you can't.
The first quarter.
Either both teams need to be at 0 and you need to be playing stellar defense, or you got to match it somehow. And there just was no sense of urgency. And then by the time that late in the game they started scoring, I was kind of checked out because I was like, you guys are getting blown out. All of a sudden they knock off 4 in a row, and I'm like, oh, maybe you're down 1 now. Maybe you guys have a chance. And then San Diego gets those final 2, and it's like, all right, back to, and I just, I'm not blaming everything on the goalies, but the save percentage was just, it felt like everything that was shot was going in the goal at one point. And I was like, this is they need to stop something at some point, and nothing was happening. And this is a sidebar, but that to me is where I'd rather watch the 8-7 game than a 16-13 game, because it's you're shooting into the ocean, just and on top of that, like you mentioned earlier, Trevor Baptiste getting no pushback at all is, and again, it's Baptiste. I can't even name Ottawa's faceoff guy off the top of my head, so maybe they don't have an actual one, but it's still just you gotta win some of these, and if you're winning 5 of 33, you're gonna lose a lot of games. So there were some cool plays. The behind the back that Hellier had over the right shoulder for Riglieri was nasty, but this is almost exactly what I was talking about when I said I worry about them having to just say, hey, T, go score a bunch of goals and try to win.
Yeah. There was also the, what's his name? Connor Kiernan.
Yeah. The falling down, spinning bouncer or whatever that was. I mean,
I think on some level that's kind of dumb luck, because he's just kind of throwing it at the net, but he freaking hit it. You can't take it away from him.
I think he stung the corner on the bounce, so I'm gonna say
too.
Skill. Maybe a little luck, but it was crazy. And what was funny was I saw people tweeting it out, and I didn't have time to watch it at the time. And then afterwards, a couple minutes later, I saw the clip, and I was like, oh, this is why people are freaking out. How did, and I was trying to zoom in. I was like, how did he even turn his stick to get the right trajectory? Yeah. And all of a sudden you see it bounce, and Riglieri is just can't believe it. I was like, this is wild. But he's another guy that he's fun to watch, and I don't really think many people are put him at the front of their mind when they're thinking about fun players. But Connor Kiernan's nice.
We started talking about cards. One of the hits in the TFL set that I got was a Connor Kiernan, and I was basically like, cool, I guess. I don't know. It was I think it was out of 25. I think.
Oh, it was a haze. Or was it the home floor that has the smoke?
No, I think it's the haze. I think the home floors that I got
purple,
were
green kind of card.
Yeah. I know I got one of those, and I think it was Connor Kiernan, and I was disappointed because I was like, I don't even know who this is. This, I love that card. I think it's one of the prettiest cards from any set in recent memory. PLL, NLL, any of those, even MLL sets. And I love that card, and I was super excited to get one of the Hayes cards, and then I pulled it, and I was like, Connor Kiernan. I'm like, cool, I guess. Whatever. And then this weekend I was like, hey, I got that Hayes card.
Gotta jump on the bandwagon. You're like, this guy's pretty sick.
Yeah, because I had the same thing as you. I saw that clip a few times, but I didn't watch it. Um, I think the first time I saw it, I didn't even realize he had shot or anything. I was like, why are they showing this clip of this dude just like, he kind of gets sandwiched by two guys and falls over? And I was like, weird. And like you said, I saw it a few times without actually like watching it. And then I don't remember when, but at some point I was like, oh, oh, okay. Now I see what happened. And like you said, like it was incredible. Like just an insane goal. We also have to talk about the San Diego Seals and Trey LeClaire, 5 goals, 4 assists, 9 points.
Incredible night.
He was insane. He was everywhere. Corey Small had a hat trick. That was pretty impressive. And then someone else. Oh, and then Westberg had a goal and 4 assists. He reached the 400 assists club, which is pretty cool for a guy that I know from kind of being on the fringes of PLL teams mostly. He did have some good times in the MLL days with your boys, the Outlaws. But I mostly know him as kind of being a fringe PLO player. So pretty cool to see him do that. Also, Trevor had that, back to Trevor, he had that great goal off of the face-off win. All I could think of was that speed boy.
We need to edit that clip of this goal and then that audio. That's hilarious.
Yeah. So, I don't know that we learned too much because I think most people have the Seals being one of those teams that, if it all clicks for them, they could be a championship contender. But even if it doesn't, they'll be in the playoffs, making noise some way. Someone's going to have to, beat them. So, and then I think Ottawa is one of those teams. I think if it clicks all for them, maybe they make the playoffs, but
keyword in that sentence is maybe.
Maybe. Yes. Yeah.
Again, like I said a couple weeks ago, I'm notoriously lower on them than most people. Example A, number 1. I'm going to try to keep track of like how many times a guy goes for, we'll say 6+ points and they lose. Because I really want to see if we were correct in feeling like this is going to have to be a one-man show. That is more than just a good game. That's going to have to be an insane game. Like, and again, this is week 1, so it's probably an overreaction, but it's something that I want to monitor just because I'm like, especially like all the hype about like, oh, they went and got a righty for Jeff T. And it's like, okay, they did get a good righty. I'm not saying Hellier's not a good righty, but like, they still got to go win games. And if it's taken 6 points out of one and 8 points out of the other, and they're still losing, they're not winning any games because of their offense then, because that means their defense is Swiss cheese.
Yeah, so, I was gonna say you had 2 guys at 6+, and then T at 5. So just outside of your criteria.
Even if you throw them in,
yeah, like even if you made it 5+, you had 3 guys hit that number, and they still lost, and not just by a goal. It wasn't the Rock losing by a goal in the last minute to lose by 1. They lost by 3, and that was them making a solid push towards the end.
Yeah,
like it wasn't even that close for most of that game. So it's at least in terms of that stat of 5+, not a good start. Not a good start.
Good for their offense, to build the confidence in the continuity, though. I'll give them that. And I do think they'll be much more fun to watch this year than they were in previous years, having Hellier there. But their defense they got to figure something out, especially if they're losing faceoffs like this all year long. It's going to be a long season.
Well, like you said, faceoffs, we don't even know who their faceoff guy is. I would say goaltending, and then just depth. Like they just, like we said, you got those 3 guys that are probably going to put up points every week, and if one of them, you need one of them to have like damn near 10 points in order to like realistically win against some of the better teams. They might beat some other teams, but at least in terms of like the upper echelons. So let's move over to the Buffalo Bandits and Swarm game. The Bandits raised the banner for the third consecutive home opener and walk out with a 15-11 win over the Georgia Swarm. I did not get to watch this game. What did you see? What did you think?
Yeah, I was in and out of these middle two games, but I saw enough of it to know Georgia, despite the score, I thought played pretty well. Mm-hmm. Like there were a couple times that I was like, they could actually win this game. Like, mm-hmm. and it was tied at halftime. So I was like, oh wait, like, but then that third quarter came and it was 4-1, and I'm like, but the bright spots for them are Michael Grace was phenomenal in his debut. I know Dawson Nielsen put him as like a sleeper rookie of the year pick. I can see why, because he was awesome. Shane Jackson, I thought, again, 6 points, 4 goals. You're gonna get a stamp of approval from me on that any day of the week. But like again, they were undisciplined at times, and they got killed at the face-off stripe. Like Connor Farrell, I don't know if he took every single one, but for them as a team to go 26-31, like, especially when you're losing a game, even by a large margin of 4 goals, they got 21 more faceoffs than you. So who's to say mm-hmm. that if you don't just gain 4 more faceoffs or even 8 faceoffs that you aren't then tied? Or like, it's just that's the way my brain works with these types of deficits, because then that also turns into they had 60 shots on goal as a team, and Georgia had 42. I'm like, that's way too wide of a spread, especially when you have like Lyle Thompson on your team. Like, you need the ball as many times as you can, because he should be taking shots all the time. And like, they just kind of struggled from that aspect. But obviously the Dobson hit on Ian McKay and getting put in the box with the major, and like, I'm not going to say that was right or wrong. I personally kind of think that illegal cross checks up high are like, it's tough, because I don't know if he was intending to hit him in the face or, that neck area, or if it was like trying to hit him up top and it slid. But it was hilarious seeing Brett Dobson sit in the box for 5 minutes with his big old goalie gear and taking up like the entire thing.
So there was a whole big debate. I don't know if you saw this, because I know you were in and out. Did you see the debate about whether or not he needed to serve the penalty?
I did not. Although I did find it, and this is just pure ignorance on my part, I have never seen a goalie serve it. Like, there's always been like a designated in-home that they have said is the in-home to go serve the penalty. So when I saw him there, I was like, wait, why is he even serving it when they should have someone that's designated to do that? So I have no idea what happened.
So supposedly, according to what the conversation was, there had been on the books for a 5-minute, for a major. I think if it's just a 2-minute, yes, it's usually the in-home. But for a 5-minute, it was supposed to be the goalie that served it. However, apparently that the rule came off the books like 2 or 3 years ago, and there's now nothing that says that the goalie has to serve it. So like, they didn't have to send Brett Dobson to the box, but they did. And I just wondered, there's some things up in the air, because it's not like people were posting the rule book. These were what people who should know, like they are reputable sources, like Graham Perot and stuff like that. But again, they weren't posting the actual rule book, so I can't verify what was in the rule book. But again, these are people that should know, are saying that that the rule was taken off the book, that he is supposed to. So he doesn't have to, but then they sent him anyway. And I wondered what you thought about that scenario, and who should or shouldn't, and that kind of thing. I will say he got that penalty with 6:33 left in the third quarter. It was a 5-minute penalty. Buffalo did not score during that penalty. They did ultimately score, because I think when it released, because there was another goalie playing, they couldn't just like switch. And so there was a Bandits score on the backup goalie, but it was that weird play where he tried to hand the ball off. The guy tried to give it back to him. It fell, and Tohoka was just standing there and threw it and clapped in his face, which, by the way, was the funniest thing I've ever, like, the sarcastic clap had me dying. But I did want to point out that they did not technically score on that power play, on that 5-minute power play.
This time. But
this time,
if it happens again, then it's like we could be having a different discussion. And I don't know how I really feel about it, because, like, you have the in-home for a reason. The other part of me, though, is like, not technically, it's a dangerous play. So, like, part of me is like, yeah, you should have to serve it. But again, I've never seen a goalie serve. And also, like, it's my judgment's being clouded because I've seen worse, in air quotes, things happen. And it either be downgraded to 2 minutes, or, like you're saying, then an in-home has to serve it because a goalie, hit someone or whatever. And I'm just kind of like, where does that line get crossed then? That, like, because technically speaking, he was setting a screen. Now, there was an illegal cross-check within that, but, like, I've seen other guys, literally last season at Ball Arena, I saw dudes get smacked in the face. They call it a major, they review it, and now it's a minor penalty. So that's where I'm kind of like, I could care less who serves it to a degree. It's more so just like, if that's the illegal cross check for 5 minutes, I'm fine with it. But that needs to be called, like, every time someone gets hit up high, and it needs to stay a major.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well. That we need to make a decision, and
also there should be a rule. There should be a written down rule in regards to goalies. Like, it shouldn't be like a guessing game where, like, some people think it's you have to serve it, some people think it's the in-home. Like, it should be like this is what it is. So hopefully, even now, I hope the NLL is going to be like, hey, this is actually going to be adopted. Like, this is the procedure. Especially because now they set the precedent that a goalie is going to serve it. So, not that many goalies will be in that position or put themselves in that position, but, like, now they have to be even smarter about, setting picks. And it's also just dumb because when they go to set picks behind the net like that anyway, I've seen guys blow up goalies. And I'm like,
yeah.
So part of me understands why Dobson didn't just, like, shoulder check him and try to do something extra, because, like, we've seen goalies get ran over, and that's kind of the most important part of your team. So,
all right, I'm gonna read this series of tweets for you and the listeners. This is from Graham Perot, which, again, he did not post the actual NLL rule book, so I can't verify it, but he is someone that I trust to know what he's talking about. First tweet in this series, I think there's 4 or 5 of them. There used to be a rule in the NLL rulebook explicitly saying that goalies must serve their own major penalties. That rule no longer exists. However, there's nothing saying goalies do not have to serve their own majors. There are rules saying that they don't have to serve minors or misconducts, so it's not entirely clear, but I don't remember the last time a goalie went into the box. And he continues saying, last April, Landon Kells was given a major penalty in a game against the Rock, and not only did he not serve it, he continued to play. He didn't even leave the floor. In fact, Kells was on the floor and got the win when the game-winning shorthanded goal was scored in overtime. Vegas was shorthanded at the time because of his penalty. And then he said, and this one's my favorite one. I have seen a goalie serve his own major penalty in the NLL. It was the Bandits goalie, Corey Quinn, for a devastating open floor hit on an unsuspecting Glenn Clark. This happened in 2003. So it has been over 20 years since Graham Perot has seen a goalie serve his own penalty.
And that's saying something, because Graham watches a ton of box lacrosse.
Yes. So interesting to me, and again, outsider, and I don't fully understand all of the nuances. Obviously, I don't understand why a goalie wouldn't serve a major penalty. Like, I get what you're saying, that there have been worse things, but I watched that Brett Thompson hit and I was like, yeah, that's a penalty. That's a clear penalty. Although I do have to say, looking at the website right now. Officially, it is recorded as high sticking. It was not called an illegal cross check or anything. It was recorded as high sticking.
I mean, to me, that's all the same thing. So I'll probably intertwine those two all year long. But
it was just funny to me because I was pretty sure it was called a illegal cross check, and that is a penalty that was recorded at other points in the game.
Yeah.
But this one was called high sticking. I don't know if that's a mistake or what, but anyway.
Yeah. No. Again, I don't have a preference if he serves it or not. We just have to make sure we're consistent with it. Which, again, like he referenced Landon Kels, and it's just like, I just want to know the criteria, really, so I can talk about it, because I don't understand, like, again, and also the other part of this is, like, what's the point of the in-home, then, if we're not going to use the in-home? But like I said earlier, I also do think that, like, he's the one that committed the act, so he should then have to serve,
And the in-home could still serve minor penalties or whatever, things that don't necessarily need the goalie to leave the floor. I'm with you. I think it needs to be like kind of spelled out and figured out. I found it really interesting that apparently he didn't need to serve it, and then they like actively chose.
They're like, no, you're going in the box.
Right. Although to be somewhat fair, it could be that neither the refs or the coaches were fully aware of the rules surrounding it, and a ref just was like, no, he's got to serve it because it was a major, and they just went with it as opposed to like an active decision. But it was interesting to, one of the few moments I got to see of this game live was in this time, and to see him in the box while reading Graham Perreault being like, he doesn't have to be there. And I was like, wait, so they decided? I don't know. Anyway. Any part of this game give you any pause about the Bandits? No.
Nope. Week one, they still got firepower that is kind of unmatched for the most part. So, I mean, if they're putting up 15 goals a game, doesn't matter what happens on the other end.
Yeah, well, especially when you got Matt Vince in goal. But what surprised me, and not gave me pause as in they're not going to win it, but I was like, yo, remember last year, I'm not necessarily saying game one, but they kind of started a little slow last year.
Yeah.
And I half expected some, all right, we've won 3 straight championships, like maybe there's a little bit of a championship hangover. A lot of our guys are starting to get older. A lot of our guys, there was a big question whether Matt Vince was even going to come back. I think Steve Priolo was another one that people were like, is he going to come back? Like, what? They're starting to get to that point where, like, is this the last run? Is this the last, like, what's going to happen? And to see them come out and just take care of business, it was like, oh geez, are you and I talked several weeks ago about how this felt like the first season in the last 3 or 4 that it felt like there was an opportunity for someone else to actually like come in and knock them off, and then they just kind of go in and handle business, and it's like, oh, did we count those chickens before they hatched, or and again, it's week 1. I'm not saying that is the case, but it was just like, oh, okay, I thought maybe they'd have some issues, but Lyle Thompson only had 1 point, an assist. That feels crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, again, they have one of the best defenses for a reason. Like,
yeah, for sure.
And they still got 11 goals put up on them, which is, to me, if you're Georgia, like 3-time defending champs, you put up 11 to open the season. 13. I'll take it. 13, excuse me.
Just kidding.
No, it is 11.
You were
it is 11, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you were right. You were right. My bad.
I'll take that. And again, Lyle's going to have more than 1 point moving forward. Like, it was just one of those nights for him, unfortunately. And honestly, like, their backup goalie played well, too, in place of Brett Dobson. So it's like, now you're kind of build that confidence, too, of like, hey, if Brett can't go for whatever reason, like, we still have someone back there that can stop shots. And I mean, he only gave up 1 goal and had 6 saves. Like,
and
that's a great ratio.
And it was that goofy.
Yeah,
which
he made a bad
really
mistake.
on him. I wouldn't have even really put it on him. He gave it to the player who then tried to give it back to him.
Yeah, but like, why even hand it to him? I don't know. Just pass it down the floor. Just.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong at all. Like, yes, pass it down the floor, but also like, I gave it to you.
Don't give it back.
Yeah, don't hand it back. What are you doing? Go.
He's like, I don't want this. It's like that. What's that movie with Will Ferrell? He's like, right here, and it's a basketball movie. He gets it and he passes it back. And he's like, all right, back again. And he's in the post. He gets it again.
What's the name of the movie?
Is it Tropic Thunder or something like that? It has
Tropic Thunder's the Ben Stiller. They're making the movie about, but it's but he plays for the Tropics. Jackie Moon plays for the Tropics. What is that?
Semi-pro.
Yep.
So like that's what I'm gonna think of when I see that clip again. Oh, just pass back and forth. That's hilarious.
Conspiracy theory, tinfoil hat time. Maybe Lyle's power was in the braid.
That's not conspiracy. That's a fact. I've never seen him play without a braid, and this was his worst game.
It was so weird when they were posting those pictures, and I was like, I've never seen Lyle without a braid. Yeah. Like, never at all. I've seen him a few times, I guess, braiding it, and so it's kind of loose for a minute, and then he braids it. But like, it was like what, like shoulder length, like he's clearly chopped it, and I was like, whoa, this is weird. And then he had the one point. I'm like, oh man, hopefully that's not Samson cutting off his hair there. I don't know. That's a biblical reference. I don't know if anyone even understands that. Let's move on. How about that?
The best game of the weekend.
The last game of the weekend. Your Colorado Mammoth beat the Vancouver Warriors 10-7. I'm just going to sit back and let you go. Go ahead.
What can I say? I didn't call it because I picked against us, because that reverse jinx always works. But, I said numerous times, this team's going to be better. Again, it is week one. Vancouver clearly does not have, the all-encompassing chemistry that they're going to need. But, first off, all the rookies were, not all, but a lot of them were really great. Dylan Hess, we confirmed, was his first box game. Looked like a veteran, in my opinion. He pushed the ball well. He was physical. No penalties that I saw. Matthew Pilato as well at the faceoff stripe. I cannot describe enough how happy I am to have a dedicated faceoff guy. Like, even Pat Coyle after the game was like, I love Tim Edwards, but it's nice to have someone there that can just face off. And, 16 for 20. Like, I know Vancouver's not the strongest face-off team, but like it's just, if you've had to watch Tim Edwards face off for the last however many years, like, you understand how I feel. On top of that, the literal wall came back out in Dylan Ward. Only 7 goals allowed. That was the best game I think I've seen him play since like the 22 finals. Like, he basically just stopped anything that came his way. And to Del Bianco's credit, he did as well for the most part, but Will Malcolm went nuclear. I thought Andrew Q still played very well, although it wasn't numbers-wise. Like, he fit the system well. This team also finally was rebounding the ball. The last 2 seasons, it was like they'd shoot it and just look away and like not try to get the rebound. And this team was actually grabbing loose balls. Like, there's just so many things the last couple seasons that I watched that I'm like, this is a completely different team from what was happening. And on top of that, Ryan Lee had like the quietest 6 assists like of all time, and he had a goal. He had 7 points. Like I know everyone's talking about Will Malcolm, but Ryan Lee was incredible. Andrew Q 7 points as well. So I didn't realize he had 5 assists. That is wild. The downside of this game we talked about, 15 penalties. It's not a zebra show. We don't, respectfully, not every time there's contact, it's a penalty. Thomas Vela getting delay of game for setting it down and the ball rolling, but then 2 quarters later or whatever it was, Curtis Dixon throwing it from restraining line to restraining line, not called. I don't, maybe someone can explain that to me, because how one is delay of game and one's not, I don't understand. And then you just look at, like, felt like every single time you looked up, there was another penalty. And like there was one point where Vancouver's only goals were on someone's power play. Either they scored shorthanded on ours, or they were scoring on their power plays. Like it was like the first 6 goals, I want to say. So I get you have to call the game, but like please let the boys play. It's box lacrosse. Like we don't need to stop the game every 4 minutes. I saw some contact. It's ridiculous. But either which way, Mammoth looked great. Vancouver looked beatable. They're gonna obviously get better, but I feel good with where we started.
There were at least 3 penalties in every single quarter. There were 3 in the first, 4 in the second, 5 in the third, and then 3 in the fourth. And yeah, I mean, it completely derailed. I'm not saying it's at all the reason the Mammoth won, but it completely derailed both teams. Like, it was so hard to get anything going, anything moving. Every time it felt like one team was starting to get on a little bit of a roll, penalties would break everything down, and it would allow the other team back into the game. 10-7, I don't know. I felt like it was a closer game than that, even though, it was 10-7 as a final score, and Vancouver scored 2 of the last 3 goals. They clearly made it look a little better at the end, but it didn't feel like that. It didn't feel that wide. Other than the fact that, like you said, I think Dylan Ward was incredible. I'm like you. I've really liked Andrew Q. I thought he looked really good, even though, well, again, he had 7 points, but I think we expected him to be more of a scorer. But we talked about it last week. Like, he has just fit right in with that Mammoth squad, and like everything seems to be kind of clicking with them. I really, I don't know why, but that goal from Ryan Lee was one of my favorite goals of the weekend. It's such a great play, that like backdoor cut. He gets fed and then dives across the crease to do it. And then, I mean, Will Malcolm just couldn't. I felt like everything that dude threw at the goal was going in. Like, he just could not stop scoring. And I don't feel like the Warriors had anyone that was like matching that at all. And part of that is Dylan Ward. Part of it is probably chemistry and them not quite being where they will presumably be towards the end of the season. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say other than the fact that, like we talked about last week, even though these teams project, just hit my mic, even though these teams project into opposite directions, maybe opposite is a little bit harsh, but they project out where Vancouver should be fighting for a championship and Colorado will be more or less trying to make the playoffs. Where they were coming out off of the preseason, it felt like this Colorado team was significantly more gelled and in tune with each other. And like we said last week, it shouldn't be a surprise for Colorado to come out and win this game just based on where they were. And that's one of the reasons, going back to all the comments we got about talking about preseason games, so one of the reasons why you pay attention to that stuff, because sure, it doesn't mean anything, and you could be undefeated and lose every game of the regular season. It doesn't mean anything, but there are things that you can see and learn about teams and where they are and what they will look like, at least for the first few months. God forbid, knock on wood, this is a wood table, knock on wood, but if Will Malcolm goes down gets hurt or something, like that could be a big, huge thing. And of course that's the case for every team, but where we are coming off the last 3 weeks, the way that the Mammoth have played, the way that they've looked, they just kind of carried that the way that they looked, especially the last 2 weekends when I've really gotten to see them of preseason, is exactly what they looked like today, or not today, but this past weekend, under the actual lights of the regular season. So,
and you've seen both I mean, Q and Malcolm just take over games. Even I know it's preseason, but like where it was just like, hey, I'm hitting shots, like give me the ball, and like that type of thing. Like you know, part of the reason Buffalo's been so good is because they have those guys that like not only do they not care who scores, but literally every night could be a new guy that's scoring 4, 5, 6 goals, and it's like, cool. And next night it's someone else, and like that to me is where like I think Mammoth could actually thrive. Of like Malcolm had to go in Vancouver, like in 2 weeks in Philly. Is that Andrew Q? Is that Ryan Lee? Like, I mean, Ryan Lee scores one of those diving goals like every couple of weeks, it feels like. And the thing is, he's going to have tons of quiet games, and then you look at the scoreboard or stat sheet rather, and he has 6 assists. And it's like, oh, wait, you know, because he's setting guys up. And like that type of thing to me is like they truly just beat Vancouver's defense. And another thing too is Vancouver has one of the best transition units, I'd say, in the league, and they were quiet. Like, I can't think of a single goal they had. I don't even know if they had a shot on goal in transition. Maybe they did, but like it literally, that was my only concern coming into this game, was like if they get that game going on top of their offense, like that's going to be tough to beat. And there was nothing. So that to me is a credit to Colorado's defense, and really offense as well, getting off the field, getting the defense on, and stopping those runs. Because the past couple seasons, it was like so slow in transition to where like Pat Coyle even mentioned it in a presser that like we have to be quicker on the backside of transition game because they were letting too many goals go by. And it was like, wow, this is like a whole new unit. So I'm excited to see. Obviously, it sucks that we have a bye week, but like I'm excited to see them in Philly in a couple weeks because that's a game that, let's be honest, they should dominate that game. So that's also a trap game in a lot of senses. So I want to see, like, was this just luck against Vancouver, or is this like who they can actually be? Because if it's who they can be, they're going to be sitting pretty after, you know, the first couple of weeks and then into their home opener. Yeah,
absolutely. And then there's a part of me that's like, not necessarily a trap game, but you know, you often see this come from teams that are in this kind of mammoth position, this like we're fighting to make the playoffs level, you know, again, that's what we're projecting them out to be, where they play to their competition.
Yep.
And, you know, like when you're playing one of the top teams, you get amped for it, you get up for it, and you go out and you play really well. But then sometimes you're playing some of the worst teams in the league and you're playing kind of down to them. So a potential, I'm not saying I expect that, but a potential path for them could be something like that. You're talking about quiet games. I just, while you were talking, I was just looking over the stats. Keegan Ball had 7 points, and that is one of the most silent good performances from the whole weekend. Yep. I don't remember Keegan Ball doing much of anything in that game, and so to see the stat sheet and see he led. Oh, I guess he was second because Will Malcolm would have had whatever it was, 8 or 9 points.
8 points.
8 points, but still, like, he was second in that game, and I can't even think of a single, you know, play from Keegan Ball at all.
I mean, he assisted on all but one of their goals. Like that's
you're right.
That's insane.
No, that means he was involved in every single goal because the one he didn't assist is the one he scored on.
So it was literally him he was basically the Rob Hellier of this game for Vancouver. Oh wow, I didn't even think about that.
Well, and you didn't even notice. Like I said, I cannot think of a single. If you told me he had 2 assists, and they, you know, probably second assists. But if you told me he finished the game with 2 assists, I'd have believed you because I don't remember him doing anything in that game.
Well, and if you look too, Vancouver only scored more than 2 in a row one time, and it was split between 2 quarters. And what is that? Almost 10 minutes of game time. They scored 3 in a row, which like that to me, that's something I've noticed Colorado has kind of fallen victim to. Is they'll let teams go on these 3 or 4 goal runs. And then it's like, now it's too much. Whereas in this game, like, even when you have a guy like Keegan Ball going off, like, they scored 2 in a row, you give up 1, you get it right back. Okay, you give up 3, but then you get 5 in a row. I guess they gave up 3 twice over 2 periods. My apologies. But, like, they responded every time to where even when you have Keegan Ball literally dominating, essentially on the stat sheet, like, it doesn't matter, really.
Oh man, you want to talk about somebody going down really the guy that had a hand in every single one of your goals. Man, that guy goes down. That's a problem. That's that. That's that Jeff T. Dropping 11 and them still losing kind of level right there. And again, I would completely expect them to start to gel and mesh and things to get better. But if it doesn't, I mean, this whole thing could blow up almost before it gets really started.
You pretty much just need them to just come together quickly. Like, it's like, this isn't the end of the season either. I could definitely see these teams playing again and them winning. Like, it's not like they, a bad thing necessarily, but like they play Vegas in 2 weeks. Like, how does that game go? Like, because if their offense struggles in that game, then it's like you don't press like panic button or anything, but you're kind of like, okay, like what's going on? And then you have another tough test the next week against Oshawa with Doug Jamieson, and it's like, so you really need to use this next game against Vegas to figure it out, at least to a serviceable level, because we've talked about, Vegas has the firepower that, like, if they come out and drop 13, 14 goals, like, how are you going to respond? Especially because then, it doesn't really get much easier, like the rest of the next couple of months, because then you got Calgary with Aiden Walsh. We'll see how he does, but Origlieri's a great goaltender. He had a tough week one, but he's not giving up 13 goals a game, and Higgins and all these guys, and I'm just like, they just need to figure it out before it starts snowballing into a trend, I guess.
What do you think was missing from them? Because like I looked down the stat sheet and I'm like, Cheryl Embiid's had 3, Curtis Dixon had 3, Jesse King had 4, Keegan Ball, obviously, you talked about him, had 7, and then they got some contributions from some other guys here and there. And so, like, I feel like if I look at the stat sheet, I'm like, which obviously doesn't tell the whole story, but like you look at the stat sheet and you go, I don't think they played that bad, but it's just like, what's missing here?
Yeah, I mean, not much. They didn't put the ball in the back of the net, which again is, Dylan Ward just played incredible, and again, I think the defense was also just so much more disciplined, and like they didn't overcommit to shooters. They closed out, but they didn't run past them or give up the backside too much. Like, I didn't see Vancouver really dominating the 2-man game or anything like that, which is helpful. And this is kind of tinfoil hat time, but like, when you have an offense that is finally settling down playing 6-on-6 lacrosse, or 5-on-5 rather, your defense has a break. Like, the last couple of years, you look at it and they're, like I said, they're taking the first shot available, so defense is running basically back-to-back shifts. Like, whereas this game, everything was settled. Like, defense got their break, they come out, they can be aggressive, and they can commit to being aggressive the entire game. And I mean, they have the veterans that are savvy, but they also have the young guys that are full of energy and can go and stop these veterans that Vancouver has. And I just think it was just more discipline on Colorado's part than anything. Like, again, you look at the numbers and it's like, oh, Vancouver played pretty well. It was a 3-goal loss. Like,
yeah.
And so I do think that part of it, though, is that transition game. They're going to have to get something going. Not saying they have to score on it, but they need to be a threat to where Del Bianco saves it, and it's not just like I guess we'll get our offense out there and, like, no, you need to go and push the tempo, make them respect that, and then you can kind of settle it down and that type of thing. So, again, they'll be fine, but it was one of those things that I was just like, this is insane that it's happening the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think if I had told you last week that the Mammoth were only going to score 10 goals with going up against that Vancouver offense, I think you'd have thought they lost.
Yeah, well, and I'd be surprised if they even put up 10, honestly, because to me, Del Bianco is the best goalie in the world. Like, and that's why I still gave him that credit, because like 10 goals is still really good. Like, at that point, like, that's not on him. He did everything he needed. He put up 36 saves. The other thing I'll say too is because the Mammoth dominated at the faceoff stripe, they were able to match the shots on goal. You look at the past couple seasons and beyond. They didn't win those battles to where now they're getting outshot by 15, 20 shots, and they're losing by 3-4 goals. And it's like, well, yeah, because just like we talked about in the San Diego game and I forget the other one. Like
Bandits.
the Bandits, when you have the opportunity to shoot more, you're probably going to win.
Mm-hmm.
So that to me is like really encouraging. Again, I know they didn't go up against like a typical face-off guy, but like that's something that Vancouver's going to need to address then to make sure that hey, even if we're not going to win the battle, we got to be competitive in it, which I didn't see much of.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I like you said, I think they've got time. They'll grow. They'll get better. But definitely, like we talked about last week, where these two teams are, it's not a hugely surprising thing. Let's move forward. Look to this coming weekend. We have 2 games this weekend. 3 teams we have not seen. The only repeat is going to be Oshawa. Oshawa plays Halifax on Friday, and Calgary plays Saskatchewan on Saturday. Obviously, all PLL season, we didn't really do predictions. I'd imagine the same thing will kind of apply here. But what are we looking for out of these 2 games? Like I said, 3 of these teams we haven't seen yet. So
yeah, well, the first one, Oshawa and Halifax, I'm really excited to see Brendan Bomberry play for Halifax. He's listed as a D guy right now, and to me, this is Halifax's last chance to be taken seriously with the current group, in my opinion. They might disagree, their fans might disagree, but I want to see them come out and play, like just be ultra aggressive the entire year and prove that like all the hype that's there is earned. And I think you add Brendan Bomberry, that definitely helps. And they still have some ballers over there as well that like they'll get Randy Stotts back at some point. But like Oshawa, maybe they're a little banged up from their first game. Go out and punch them in the mouth again. Like, so I want to see how they respond. And then obviously just seeing Oshawa again. Is 8 goals where they're going to be as a team, or is that just week 1 playing against a good goaltender? Like, and the second game, Battle of the Prairies, like it's always a fun game. And I'm excited. It's funny because like you have one team that made almost no moves in the offseason in Saskatchewan, who I want to see, like, are they that team from last year still? Or then you have on the other side, you have Calgary, who made like a boatload of changes. And like you got exciting guys like Noah Manning, who's going to go play, and Aiden Walsh is going to start for them, and you still have Tyler Pace, Tanner Cook, like those veterans. But I want to see, like, are we counting them out too early type of deal? And again, it is week 1 for them, but like to me, you're going up against, you have a prime opportunity to go up against a team that was in the finals last year. Like, go show that you can actually at least play with these guys is kind of what I want to see. So I don't like that there's only 2 games, but I'm excited that we at least have some good matchups.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where Halifax is. We've talked about it for several weeks now. Them and San Diego, I think, are the team that they enter the season every year, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is the year. This is the year we're gonna do it." And then they don't. And like Adam Levy said a couple weeks ago, like, how many times do you see that before you start to believe that, okay, like, this is who they are? They're not that championship team. So I'm interested to see how they come out of the gate, what they look like this year. Like you said, they've got Brendan Bomberry and some new pieces that could tip the scales maybe in their way. Obviously, I guess it could go the other way as well. And then, like you said, is Oshawa? I guess which Oshawa is it? In a manner of speaking, I think it can tell us maybe a little bit about the Rock too. About, like, is this, how good was that Oshawa team? Did the Rock do well to hang with them, or are they kind of less than we thought coming out of that game? And then I'm really interested to see what Calgary does. Like, that's a team that I'm like really, really paying attention to, just because I really enjoyed watching them play in the preseason, and I want to know, now that games matter, what that means. Does it mean nothing? Does it mean something a little bit? Are they gonna shock some people? And then, yeah, like you said, is Saskatchewan the team from last year, or was that the kind of off year? Was that the one that we need to not really consider moving forward? And again, like you said, week one isn't going to answer those questions, but at least can start kind of laying the groundwork of what these teams will be. I want to give Calgary that same benefit of the doubt that I gave Colorado last week of being like, based on where they were in the preseason, they could win, and they could, 100%. They could. Again, we don't know who Saskatchewan is at this point. It does feel slightly different, though. It does feel like they don't have as much of a shot, especially because coming in, we knew Vancouver had so much turnover. Like, that was a big part of why I was like, I could see Colorado winning this game, because they have gelled so quickly and played so well, and Vancouver has had so much turnover, and clearly didn't gel as quickly. Like you said, Saskatchewan has had basically no turnover. So these guys are going to be on the same page. They're going to know what to expect. Yeah.
And they're playing at home as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And we know they get good crowds.
Yeah. So, I mean, I recognize that there's going to be still those veterans in Calgary that can settle them down, but like, you're going to have some young guys that are going to be expected to be big time playmakers, and like, how does that affect them? Because they've never played in a place like that. So we'll see. I would hope that they at least make it competitive enough to where it's like, there's like, I just want to see like, take away good things from them as a team, that like, hey, this looked good, that looked good. Because I think it's pretty clear that like, they're not chasing a cup this year. If I'm wrong, I'll gladly admit that, but like, it's just the reality, unfortunately, for them, whereas Saskatchewan is chasing a cup. So yeah, I don't necessarily lean Calgary's way much at all.
Yeah, I think best case scenario is that like the naivety of youth maybe can carry them a little bit, and like you said, in that like hostile environment of they don't necessarily need veterans to settle them down, because they'll just be kind of young and dumb and like, we can do this, and maybe they can, maybe they will. But yeah, like you said, I'm not giving them a ton of hope.
Not excited to watch the green floor either.
Oh,
that's a tough watch. I might have to put on some sunglasses or something to, help with the glowing, like, maybe we can use it as like a green screen or something, and we can put like a movie on in the background, or I don't know.
That's true. It'll be like one of those like NBA Cup courts. Like,
oh my goodness! Don't even get me started on those. Some of those games, man, I literally can't watch because it like gives me a headache. I'm like, I'm sorry. Like, people are like, you see this game? I'm like, no, I chose to ignore it because it's bright yellow in my face. Like, no, sorry.
Well, and I feel like it's only going to get worse NBA wise, because now they have the lighted glass floors that they can like change and they can do things with like it live. I'm like, it's only going to get worse.
I sound like an old head, but I'm just like, dude, I can't watch it. I'm sorry. Like,
yeah, no, it's too much. It's too much. But, one piece of news before we wrap things up: the San Diego Seals announced today that they have relinquished the rights to Austin Stotts. We kind of already talked about the Austin Stotts stuff, but I'd be a little surprised if anyone picks him up, at least in the immediate future. Maybe towards the end of the season, maybe, but I wouldn't really expect him to be back in any capacity this season, if ever, really. I mentioned in our group, one of our group chats, we got so many chats now, that I'm all for him getting another opportunity. I just think he needs to be more transparent about what he's doing to like change and grow. If he really wants to get back into specifically the NLL, but lacrosse in general, I think that's what it's going to take. Until then, I'm going to be really doubtful that anyone's going to take the chance on it. I think the Seals made this announcement because of how much the fan base was like, nah, this dude can't play, and I'd imagine it would be like that just about anywhere. So,
yep.
I wouldn't really expect to see him, but that is going to wrap up this week's question. I got nothing. I got nothing over here. That is going to wrap up this week's discussion. If you want to jump into the conversation, the best way to do that is by joining the Lax Lifers Club. That is the home for our entire community. When you join, it is free. Well, the base plan is free, and you get access to the Discord community, get episodes of the Run Out 48 Hours, and gain access to exclusive things like hangouts and watch-alongs. We're going to keep doing those at least once a month is my plan. Brandon might be in some of them at some point. If things ever slow down for him, the busiest man in lacrosse over here.
To an extent.
I
was also out of town for the last one, so I was not really able to jump in.
That's the part of doing it on Thanksgiving weekend. But like I said, I wanted to do one a month, and that was kind of the first opportunity, especially with it being the opening weekend. So anyway, you get to directly interact with us and fellow lifers, and you will be able to help build this community of passionate lacrosse fans. You can find all of the details and tiers by hitting the link in our show notes or video description if you're watching on YouTube. You can find both of us on social media. Brandon is at Hoot Sports Media, and I am Neil Barrett. That is on pretty much all platforms. Like, subscribe, rate, share, and review the show, and on whatever platform you are listening on. It really does help us grow and, get people to come on the show, and maybe one day even get a sponsor or two that would help, pay for hosting and Riverside plans and stuff. That'd be fun, wouldn't it? Before we get out of here, Brandon, you got anything fun this week?
Trying to shoot a state championship football game. Kind of getting the runaround right now from the state, so we'll see about that. But I say the runaround. Really, it's like their website says email this guy. I email the guy, and then he says, no, you need to submit it with this other thing, and just, for some reason, it's like really strict for high school sports. But the team wants to hire me, so I kind of need this to like work out. But
yeah.
It'll be good. So hopefully that happens. But other than that, just hopefully watching these two games. The one game starts when I'm still at work because it's in Halifax, so that sucks. But
oh yeah, I didn't even think about time difference for that game.
Yeah.
Well, me and my wife are going out of town for a friend's birthday, and I'm like you. I'm like, oh, I hope I can watch these games. I have no idea. We're going like way up in the mountains, so I don't know anything about like what service or internet is going to be like or what. So I don't know, but we will see. If not, I will watch them probably when we get back or something. But that is pretty much it for us. So we will get out of here, and as always, we will catch you guys in the comments.